relax and take a deep breath in. And hold it. And hold it. And hold it. And let it go. Take another deep breath in. And hold it. And hold it. And hold it. And feel all your energy go to a central place. And let it go. And take one final deep breath in. The deepest breath you've taken all day. And let it go. And we're going to go on a ride. We're going to go on a journey into deep space, into some spaces the channel has visited in physicality. Perhaps even visit some crop circles in the UK, some starships on Mars, some light beings of pure love on Venus, the Shikani in their home world, the Yael in their dimension, and all the beings of the hyperspace realm together at once as the pure white light, the crystalline being of all that is. So relax. As we begin to journey, to dive deep within the core of our being, we might begin to imagine, we might begin to visualize a white ball of light, a white ball right at the center of our being, the center of our chests, with electricity, consciousness, the electric consciousness, lightning like light of creation, primal creation, the beginnings of creation, the beginnings of consciousness. We might begin to visualize how the ball of white light at the center of our being is God, is source, is creation, is the beginning, is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the eternal self that we all are. And this in its center, as symbolically at the center of our being, is the purest form of self, the purest form of what we are. But as it begins to birth, it begins to form a kind of electron storm, a kind of electric consciousness storm with lightning around it, energy and clouds of consciousness. And we begin to go into this center of our being. We begin to go into this center of our core. And just rest. Just rest at this center. Rest at this eternal point of neutral nothingness in a sense, but nothing in the most beautiful and divine form imaginable. The realization that what we once thought of as nothing, that we feared, is actually our own purest self. The reason we call it nothing is because it is no thing. But as it becomes no thing and transcends form, it becomes the most pure of all things, the most free of all things, the most divine of all light. And so we begin to dive into this realm, dive into a great room of white light with an array of images, many, many images projected on the walls, many, many movies projected on the walls, thousands, hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions even, all different timelines, all different parallel realities, all coexisting here and now. And so we decide to choose the time and space of the channel Jonathan's contact experience, extraterrestrial contact experience with Yael counterpart, Tahinio, with the ladybug being, a 2-foot tall ladybug, red, black bug being, with the Mayan, with the insects, the aquatics, the hybrids. And so the channel was in the forest one day. He felt his frequency rising. He felt his consciousness expanding. He felt his abilities to view parallel realities, to view multidimensionally, his higher consciousness kicking in. He began to see reality more like his soul, more like his higher self, more like the forms of being he is used to, where reality is experienced very differently to how it is here. Reality is experienced multidimensionally. Many experiences can be experienced and processed and contained within one's consciousness in any one given moment. And so this was the state of consciousness the channel entered. This was the state of being he became. And the next thing he knew, he was stood in a different part of the forest. The lighting was different. His position of standing was different. He appeared to be in a different location, confirmed to him later by the fact he came out on the other side of the path. And there were fighter jets flying around his head. And yet not but a moment before, it was pure silence, and the scene was completely different. So what had happened, what we might call the idea of missing time, the idea that the contact experience the channel had with the Yael and other beings in the intermedium time was not present in his consciousness on return to the location for his own protection, his own safety at this time, for his own ability and mental sanity and ability to process and integrate what had occurred. And so his vibration was elated, his vibration was high. He felt one with the fighter jets, he felt one with the forests. He knew something had happened. He began to sing pop songs at the top of his head to balance his energy, to take control of the situation vibrationally and create awareness of himself, as he was a little nervous due to the high military presence that had presumably picked up his Yael Tahinio counterpart's ship as it dropped him off back in the forest. And so to make this more clear, 1 to 2 weeks later, the channel Jonathan began to recall in meditation the idea of boarding the ship, the idea of being on Tahinio's Yael extraterrestrial spacecraft. And so he stepped aboard the craft. He stepped into this reality. He does not remember how he got there. He does not remember the teleportation events. He does not remember the triangular dropship approaching in his reality. He does not remember many elements that will come back in time. However, what he does remember is being in Tarhinio's quarters, sat upon Tarhinio's rest space above, before a mirror, and Tarhinio had a towel over his head as a symbolic representation of the idea of the channel's fear of fully embracing and piercing and entering into the consciousness of his own counterpart, his own soul matrix energy partner, Tarhinio, Ra of the Yael. And so as he began to penetrate deeper into beyond the town, deeper into the consciousness of Tarhinio, he began to get downloads about his family, downloads about his life, downloads about why certain things happened in his life, downloads about how his actions had affected others. And as he began to move these and see where he had erred and see where he had done well, he began to move on in the ship. And he came to a room with a light coming from apparently not sure where. Somehow the room was lit, perhaps using an advanced technology that did not need light fixtures. It seemed to have a blue hue to it, a light blue hue. It had a nice ambience, a very heart-centered energy, a very dreamlike energy, yet somewhat visceral, solid, and real. And in this blue hue room, there was a coffee table. There was some seating around the coffee table. There was a counter, a kitchen counter type area. There were beings that the channel does not fully remember. So one appears to be of blue indigo hue. Perhaps from Sirius, perhaps amphibious in nature. Perhaps there was another Mayan entity in this room also, of which we shall get to in the next room. And on the kitchen counter was sat a 2.5 foot tall ladybird being, sat full upright, fully attentive, fully alert, fully paying interest in the unfolding situation of contact. And so the channel moved on into the next room, into the next portal of the ship. And so there were more beings set to a backdrop of a walkway and research areas, tanks, aquariums, vivariums holding insects, aquariums holding fish, beings, entities, insects, animals, creatures from all corners of the universe that had communicated with Tarhinio through a variety of manners that they wished to come to Earth for this mission, to meet the channel, to meet Earth, to see what Earth is like. And so there were also beings, a Mayan being with a helmet, a glass bubble helmet. There was another amphibious blue Syrian being, and of course Tarhinio. And so now we're back in the white room with the screens, with thousands, millions of videos playing within the on the walls of the room of white lights. We're back in the room of infinite potential. We're back in the quantum space. We're back in the realm of infinite being. And so we can come here at any time. We can remember this space. We can remember this room. We can remember this place and know from here we can view any aspect of the Akashic records, any aspect of reality, any aspect of infinite reality we wish to experience. We can remote view any experience. And so as we allow this to settle into our being, as we allow this to integrate with our core, we begin to exit the room. We exit out a hatch in the ceiling and see the room of white light in the middle of the dark universe being left behind. And we begin to gravitate back to Earth. We begin to feel a natural gravitation back to Earth, back to our home, back to our world, back to our realm, knowing that all will be well, that a fun Saturday unfolds, that a warm Saturday unfolds, that a joyful Saturday unfolds. And so we begin to return to our Earth bodies. We begin to move high speeds, almost at light speeds, watching the worlds, the planets, stars, even the galaxies fly by at light speeds. And then we begin to slow at such rapid speed. And we realize we are in our solar system. We see the planets we know: Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Mercury, Pluto, Earth. And as we utter the words Earth, we find ourselves gravitating at rapid speed and arriving in Earth's atmosphere. And we see our own country below us from above, as we've seen it on maps before. And we gravitate in, and all of a sudden we're hovering above our home. We're hovering above our own meditating body, and we're back in the body. And we're home. And so if you just spend a few moments just getting used to being back in your human body on Earth. We hope you have enjoyed flying with us. Trinity Airlines, Trinity Interdimensional Airlines, we hope you have enjoyed your ride. Welcome back to Earth. You may depart at your own leisure.